What's up, everybody? This is your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog, and this show, not so classy. I wanted to go over the kidnapped Americans. And at the time, I really wanted to do it when it was breaking news, but then I decided not to. Why? We had a lot of lowbrow comments in the community wall where people are like, I know their family. I know what they did to them. I'm like, no, no, no. That's not what the point of this is not to be the most lowbrow, low conversation person in the room. That's not the point of that one. Okay. That's not the point of this. The point of what I was trying to get you to guys to understand is if you've ever seen any drug movies, if you've ever seen American Gangster with Denzel Washington, if you've ever seen any of these movies that have a snippet of North Carolina in it, you will understand the significance of North Carolina, of Fort Bragg, which now is going to be called Fort Liberty, trying to get away from that Bragg, Fed Nom name forever, but that's not going to work. And what I really want you to understand is there's been forever a history in North Carolina and South Carolina of one or two things: bootlegging, right? Illegal moonshine activities and drug trafficking. Now you're gonna say, Erica, oh, you're making that up. But North Carolina's a good old, quiet, sleepy town. Those things aren't happening in North Carolina. My cousins live down in North Carolina, and they're good people, Erica. That's not what I'm telling you. I will show you if you look online. What is the most notorious crime in all of North Carolina and South Carolina combined? It is trafficking. It is drug trafficking. It ain't murder. It ain't robbing a gas station. It ain't shooting up a school. It is drug trafficking. And it automatically puts you on mandatory minimums of 2 to 18 years. Now, so many people say, what's going on? Why these heavy times? Because North Carolina has a long historic history. The reason you have NASCAR is partly due to our bootleggers in North Carolina mountains and their techniques to make the cars faster and lower to the ground and speeding and all kind of other stuff, right? And so if you understand that we've been a Bible Belt state forever, you will completely understand the conundrum that is the trafficking mule behavior, right? Mule behavior that is the people that were to capture Americans. Now, if you zoom in, and I made myself very low so y'all can see this screen. And essentially, if convicted, you may spend anywhere from 2 to 18 years in prison and pay fines of 250,000. Since drug trafficking is a felony offense, a conviction may continue to impact your life long after you serve. Convicted felons may have public and permanent criminal record, loss of your right to bear arms. That's a big thing in North Carolina, and because then now that you're a felon, they're going to keep picking you up in your car with what? A gun. Even if you live in the country and there's bears running down your road, you can't even have a gun in your car. All right. Disqualification from government assistance such as student loans, Medicaid, Medicare, which there's loopholes around this. Because felony people love coming all over the internet and said, I got SSI. Chill out. Chill out. We get it. You got some disability. Cool. Keep it moving. Difficulty finding, maintaining housing, employment, etc., etc. Listen, these are attorneys. These are attorneys giving their feedback on it. You can go look them up for yourself. This is why is this one of the hottest things white dudes in law firms in North Carolina can make big money on North Carolina, right? There you go. Exactly. Pre Civil War, Wilmington, North Carolina, essentially they have a show right now called The Outer Banks, where basically a pirate came, stashed gold in the Carolinas, and then left instructions for his son to get it to smuggle it out later. You dig what I'm saying? Like we have a history, deep rooted history of smuggling, of trafficking, of runaway slaves, of all black towns, because we have some areas like Robinson County. Why do we have Indians there? Why do we have so many Indians there? 80,000 Lumbee Indians and a combination of Tuscarora Indians and a couple other Indian groups, because they were swamp lands and no one had time to go dig in the swamp to pull these people back out. Now, why there's such issues with this is when they start building the railroads and reconstructing parts of North Carolina after the Civil War, they start kidnapping Indian and black children and sending them where? To the railroad tracks and also to near Atlanta, Georgia to help rebuild the roads. Something you didn't know there about our history, but there I shared it with you. So now, if you know anything, if you're any type of level, anybody with 2 inches of brain, you know we have parts of North Carolina that are absolutely struggling because of manufacturing disappeared. We also have parts of North Carolina that are struggling because they used to be Eastern North Carolina farm areas. Okay. Now, you just saw them try to feed you a story that some people came out of South Carolina all the way through Texas, which is, trust me, I've driven this. It's 20 hours. 20 hours from, more than 20 hours, really, 25 hours. They drove from South Carolina to Texas, from Texas to Mexico for a BBL with cash money on them. Now, y'all, if you know anybody in law enforcement, when I would drive from North Carolina to Texas, I get stopped. Never get a ticket. They'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? Where are you going?" Hmm. They talk for me a second, then they go, "Have a good day, ma'am." And I start telling my family, I keep getting stopped. And they go, "It's because you got North Carolina plates." And they're trying to see if you're dumb enough to carry drugs in the car because it has such a reputation. So much so that if you drive from North Carolina to California, honey, you're bound to be stopped at least 4 or 5 different states. Why? Because it was such a corridor, such a area from people going from Charlotte to California with drugs in the car. How many semi trucks have they been catching with drugs in? So much so that they had to change the law. Like the semi truck driver, I didn't know there were drugs in my trailer. So they couldn't put him in jail. But if you were some yokel, I didn't know I had drugs in my car. I just picked this car up and drove it. They just told me to pick it up and drive it. Now, a lot of times you say, "Well, Erica, why would people risk their life for this?" Because let's just be honest, and I know this from inside information, they were paying people $1,000 to $3,000 to drive vehicles from North Carolina to Colorado. Now you're gonna say, who the hell is a dummy risking their life for 3 grand? If you've ever lived in some of these small towns where the rent's 450, right? Their car payments maybe 300. That's enough money for them to live for 3 months and feel like they outsmarted the law. So when I read this article and they tried to say this woman who had 6 kids, she was just gonna get a BBL, and she's just a poor mother of 6 kids that has $7,000. How is a mother with 6 kids got $7,000 in South Carolina when the average South Carolina person is living in poverty outside of Charleston? Did nobody think about that? Did no one say, yeah, tobacco went away, bootlegging, manufacturing? North Carolina, and here's the difference between North Carolina and South Carolina. North Carolina made a concerted effort to say, look, hey, y'all, things is changing now. Y'all need to go on over to these community colleges and you need to go on over to Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill and get you them degrees because, these jobs is gone. And so you did start to see in North Carolina a big switch to nursing, a rural health care, right? You saw a big switch over to government contracts, a big switch over to military, because why? The veterans would come back into town and buy a house and live cheap as crap. You see a lot of guys be in the National Guard part time. They do their weekend for about $1,000 a month, and then spend the rest of the month doing kind of part time work, and they still could afford a house and live well in North Carolina. This is why everybody, oh, North Carolina's so beautiful and great. It is. If you're smart enough to not do stupid stuff. Furniture too. Yeah, they used to do a lot of furniture in North Carolina. Okay? They still do. They sell it here in Texas. They got a store tomorrow. Direct from North Carolina. Trucks come daily. Furniture direct from North Carolina. Why? Because North Carolina was known for the best wood furniture. Just the best. It's just doggone the best, right? There's even a community college that produces like HVAC repair guys in like 6 months near Greensboro. So much so that they would just be pulling guys from North Carolina, right? And so when you're sitting here and someone's trying to tell me, "Hey, Erica, you hear about these Americans that got kidnapped?" I said, first of all, they're not kidnapping black Americans. Why? Because if you know anything about Mexico, they had a bunch of Haitians and Brazilians in Mexico when Obama said that we could let the people come in. So they know what Brazilians look like. They know what Haitians look like. They know what Dominicans look like. To sit here and look me in my face and tell me they just did not know these were black Americans. How did they know these were black Americans? Y'all. Okay. And again, referencing Robinson County. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina, but my people, my bloodline are from Robinson County and Indians of Person County and one other area, which is the Eastern Band of Cherokees Mountain area on the other side of the family. So again, as a registered, federally registered Indian person, I am telling you, this is not anything new. This is nothing new. Okay. So here we go. This is police officers. We have whole batches of police officers where we've had to come into towns and get rid of all the police officers because they were corrupt and they cut deals so they could get off. So here is the article. Like, I could literally do this all night. Just article after article. This is how much and common trafficking is to the Carolinas. And here's I'm gonna say something, and y'all gonna be upset with me. I heard Man of Tomorrow channel. Someone said it earlier today, and I believe it's spot on. He said um child support is a sin tax. So is drug laws. If you're stupid enough to put drugs in your car and drive somewhere, they're gonna be like, great, we got you, pick you on up. You're a dummy. Welcome to 2 to 18 years in jail. Well, Erica, don't call people dummies. That's not nice. It's the truth, though. These are the only two traps that are like we see the ground says trap. We're like, let me touch it with my toe just in case. Child support is nothing but you having bad relationships with people that you shouldn't have had relationships with anyway. Unproductive people getting together and then surprised that there are consequences to unproductivity. Yep, I said it. So, in the same tone, here's drugs. A North Carolina correctional officer arrested. Deputies find, let me read it to you. Deputies find 99 guns, opiates, and cocaine in his possession. This is a correctional officer. He know what jail look like. He go there every day. This is Derek C. Madden, 32. Prison guard at terrible correctional facilities, including trafficking opium, heroin, in position to intent to distribute. Okay, he's being held on $1 million bond. They found him at his home on NC Highway 72. They said he had enough fentanyl to kill 12,000 people. Where did he get this marijuana and cocaine and fentanyl from? Did he grow this in his backyard? Where did he come in here for? How did he get 99 guns? 99. Isn't that interesting? It's a very calculated number. Okay? 99. It's a syntax. It's for unproductive people who get together and be unproductive. Now we got to deal with these children that are leftover products of unproductive people. And we know the numbers ain't in their favor. So again, this is a correctional officer who goes to work every day with a uniform and sees people in jail with no freedom. Okay? With no freedom. The slaughter of counterculture. I mean, it just is what it is. Everybody, listen, when you go, and Man Tomorrow did a great job of this earlier today. When you go to Congress, do they say, we got to fight for those child support laws? We got to stop putting people in jail for drugs. They don't. You know why? Because they look at you like you're stupid. All that opioid crisis, thank God the doctors at the hospitals were racist against black people and wouldn't prescribe black people opioids because they thought they would sell the drugs. So now you've poisoned millions of white Americans. And this is why the past 5 years, there's been a 50% increase in white women going to jail for trafficking. And those are mandatory minimums. So these white women are in jail for 2 to 18 years just for North Carolina. We're not talking about Virginia. We're not talking about West Virginia. We're not talking about any of those places. Up north was so full of white people in jail that they stopped arresting them. Look it up. New Hampshire, Delaware, Maine, Vermont. There are 57 cities totals that were like, we just ain't got enough room in these jails. We ain't got enough room in these jails. We got to figure something out. That's why Donald Trump all of a sudden was like, we're gonna get these people out of jail. We can't be putting people in jail for the drugs. And black people were just clapping. Oh my God, Donald Trump's getting people out of jail for drugs. Obama too, and he got some black people. Oh my God, he's getting black people out of jail for drugs. Now listen, I get it. You're gonna say, but Erica, what about people that's got all these years, 99 years for weed and cocaine and all this other? I get it. That's terrible. That's horrible. I'm sorry. Don't trust your life to no backwoods Southern lawyer. I apologize. But if you can see with your own very eyes that trafficking is one of our most dangerous, longest sentences in jail possibility in North Carolina, and you still do it, I think you grew up in a lead paint house. I think your elevator doesn't go all the way up because it's a very simple thing. It's like, should I go work at Bojangles this month to feed my children, or should I should I go track for drugs? Y'all got come on now. Come on now. This is short bus shorty time. Now let's go here. This is a retired North Carolina police officer accused of trafficking cocaine. Where'd he get the cocaine from? Where'd he get it from? Nashville, North Carolina, retired Rocky Mount. Again, Rocky Mount has its struggles. Police officer arrested in charge of trafficking cocaine and an ongoing. He was sitting out here, Link O'Shea Brooks, which that middle name is actually Indian, but that's another conversation. If you know anything about that area, was driving a 2020 GM Denali on Interstate 95. Interstate 95, where they put state troopers and dog sniffers on every 5 miles. You're deciding I'm gonna drive on 95, and he was stopped. Okay. Now, again, during the stop, this is what he did, but make sure they really got his ass. During the stop, he said, I'm a retired police officer. And they said, okay, but you acted suspicious. So then they deployed the K9, and the K9 detect the presence of narcotics. Oh, y'all, I could just, I could make a lot of money being negative and just reading the news. Which again, salute to real estate, the trapper. I salute him. I'm a big proponent of making the negative, the dark side channels. Our staff's working on it as we speak. I'm not even being funny. I've been decided to go to the dark side on some of this because most people, you can make a lot of money reading people the news. I've told y'all that though. After they search this Denali, they find 198 grams of cocaine, street value $20,000 inside the console. Oh my goodness. And he was charged with resisting arrest and delaying a public officer. He was charged with $275,000 bond. Y'all, come on now. And he tried it too. I'm a police. I used to be a police officer, sir. Sir, we don't care. We can smell. We smell the drugs in your vehicle. You smell like crack, sir. Get out the vehicle. I'm a police officer. We don't care about that. We don't care about none of that. Now, let me see if I can find the other one. Um, let me see this other one. Yeah, here's another one. This is for Wilmington. Let me pull it up. Again, I could go all night with these because they're hilarious to me. But anyway, they're hilarious and sad because the fact remains North Carolina is one of the cheapest states to live in, and you could literally live well without doing all that, doing any of this, right? So let me go ahead and do it again. Okay. This is former Raleigh, North Carolina officer pleads guilty to drug trafficking and firearm charges, barred from law enforcement certification. Now, why did they have to bar him? Do y'all understand why they have to bar people from this? Because we're so short on cops, quotation marks, that these cops just bounce county to county. As long as their certification's still good, they just bounce county to county, state to state. They have to really do bad stuff. Like there's a guy, a police officer. It's on the news. You can look this up. He gave a homeless guy dog poop in a bag, and he thinks it's hilarious. And then he got reprimanded. Then he did it again. And they were like, they fired him, and then another police county hired him. Who wants a police officer that gives a homeless person dog poop in a bag? Like that dude's a mental health patient. He's a psycho waiting any moment to kill lots of people. And here's my problem with this. The average police officer, if you take the test and you test too high, they don't hire you. This is well known. Not they've had people who are high skilled, highly intelligent people have to sue police departments all the way to Supreme Court. And you know what the police department said? They said, well, we need people that are about 6th to 8th grade level intelligence because that's what the average population is. So we have a right to discriminate against really smart people. This is why the show, when you see Matlock and Columbo and all this stuff, where these super smart, like what's that? Name me a couple cop shows. The super smart cop tries to solve the case. Hey man, we got to go ask that super smart cop because that's the truth. They do have to go ask the super smart cop because most of them are sitting there chewing on tree bark. Because most crimes are small, stupid crimes. Let's just be honest. Most crimes are like, I'm gonna rob a liquor store right down the street from my house. I'm gonna rob the subway right down the street from my house. I'm gonna beat up my wife. And then when they ask me who did it, I don't know who did it. Who else has time to beat up your wife? Right? So the average person crimes are stupid. They're close. And this is why when you talk about black on black crime, it's hilarious. It's a thing called proximity crime. If you look up white people kill white people. White people assault white people. Hispanic people assault Hispanic people. There's no such thing as black on black crime. It is something they do on here on the internet to make you feel better about yourself. No such thing. This officer right here is Kevin Rodriguez, a former North Carolina police officer. And he's sitting there with possession of contraband while in prison after they searched his jail cell. Not only did he have it in the vehicle, he had it in his jail cell. I don't know where he had it. I'm not even thinking about where he had it. So now they're like, look, man, we got to give you at least 10 years in prison because you're doing too much. You're doing too much. We gave you a chance to show us. So that means they didn't make him call for pat him down properly before they put him in the jail because he was a police officer. Okay? Because he was a police officer. Right? So they charged him. They got to charge it. They said, listen, man, what you doing? What you doing with these firearms and cocaine? And an informant snitched on him. Y'all, okay, listen. why did I go over this? Why am I talking about this? So many people essentially have no clue to, and we can call it what it is, this dark white underbelly, all this crazy terms of the sadness of poverty, the sadness of unproductive people having children and creating poverty issues ongoing. That's what it is. Okay, you guys, that's what it is. I mean, we can go all around we want, but that's really what it is. It's we have people who are, instead of picking up reading a book and figuring out something positive to do with their life and kind of just having some space on it, right? Because a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I'm like, why didn't you buy a house? Oh, I just there's all the houses are old and they need work. And, it don't yeah. They give you all these ridiculous excuses when in North Carolina you find houses for 50K, 60K, 80K. Getting land lots for 15,000, put a brand new trailer on it, and keep on living your life. All right? So these people are trying to find an excuse for why they're not performing. It's very ridiculous. There's no BBL. There was none. This is a mule trafficking issue. These people were traffickers. They were picking up shit and going to drive it back. Even though they're dumb enough to know, most people are looking up what? North Carolina, South Carolina plates for going from North Carolina to California. It is some of the highest numbers of arrests from North Carolina to California. Also from North Carolina to Louisiana, New Orleans. and then another high arrest for anybody pretty much on I-95. Okay, so when you're sitting here, you're talking to people, and they're trying to play this game of like, well, she was going with men, and she was gonna be. It's okay. They were going together. Come on, man, y'all. Come on, y'all. Stop it. Y'all stop it. Y'all know daggone well that woman won't go get no BBL. You know it. I don't have to. We don't have to play along with the game. And again, let's just be honest. What was America gonna do? Let's really be honest for a minute. What was America gonna do? What was United States gonna do? Hey, Mexico, you're not gonna beat up these poor black people that decide to traffic these drugs. They were not. We couldn't do anything. America cannot do anything to Mexico. Okay. Where are the cities? Let me see real quick. I know there's a Mexico list of Mexico cities not to visit. There was a show called Coyote that the dude from The Wire did. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Let me pull this up. Let me do it like this. Okay. All right. Let me do it like this. Let me share my screen so y'all can see this. Y'all, I'm not even sharing my screen. Lord Jesus. Okay. Let me just show you my screen. Now look at this. Look at what they're doing. Look where they're telling you not to go. Hey, don't go here, okay? Now, if you don't know anything about Mexico, if you go below this red part right about here, I don't know if you can see my mouse clicker. This is where the black people live. Black Mexicans live. Veracruz. Go look it up. Go look it up. When they get the census for the 1.5 million black people in Mexico, it was right about here. Veracruz, underneath that red. But let me be very clear, y'all. I can show y'all multiple maps. Here's another map. Let me see if that comes up. Did that come up? A is don't go. B is reconsider. C is double caution. Come on, man. I'm not trying to be funny, but like it's the whole country. And again, people gonna say, "Well, I go down to Mexico all the time, and I'm just fine, and I don't even know what you're talking about here because just can't believe you're saying this." And I just want you to understand. I just want you to understand. Um, it's easier in Cali because there's only one license plate for sure. Thank you for that. Somebody said I'm wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and put you out. Block user. Have a good night. I like an echo chamber. I don't ask you to come over here and tell me nothing. I'll just block you out. Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes. All these ridiculous stories of Matlock and Columbo and people figuring it out. Like, get out of here. In the heat of the night, all that silly stuff. Okay. So again, when you're telling me this girl's going out here for a BBL, sorry, I got it. When we know the average black lady is actually going to Florida, sorry, I got to slander Florida. I just got to do it for a minute. Florida's been killing black folk and BBL folk for a minute. Florida been doing bad BBLs and killing folks for a minute. So you trying to convince me this woman drove 20 hours across country instead of 15 hours, if not 14 hours, down to Florida for a BBL. Really, she drove 27 hours to that part of Mexico. If you go from South Carolina, there's about 27 hours. So you're going to try to convince me she was driving 27 hours there with three dudes who look like they can barely scratch off a scratch off ticket. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop believing the news. I feel like America just told y'all that answer because America really like we ain't got time. We ain't got time to be fighting over 3-4 people. Nah, you got to kill like a whole tour bus of people for us that for America to come down there and do something. It ain't happening. Terry X, I had to drive from Mississippi to Virginia when I was in the Navy. Before I left, my old teacher told me to drive the speed limit in South Carolina. They will pull you over and take you to jail. Yeah, South Carolina's been terrible forever. North Texas has a can't even say the word. If you have gun rights here in Texas, pretty much every state is like, oh, you in Texas? Cool, you can bring your gun, no problem. South Carolina's like, only if you're from Texas. Now, what does that mean? If you know anything about the black people leaving South Carolina, they left South Carolina in droves to New York, Chicago, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, DC. I mean, I go to Virginia now and I see a ton of South Carolina plates. Everywhere but South Carolina is where they go because South Carolina's been mismanaging its people and its education system for years. So let's say I'm from South Carolina and I've been living in Texas for 10 years and I got a gun and I drive home to South Carolina. South Carolina will say, well, technically you were born in South Carolina. So you can't have the same gun rights or open carry that gun because really you're from South Carolina. That's that old slave trapper mentality South Carolina's been fighting since the Civil War. Pretty much you leave South Carolina, you were always South Carolina. And I kid you not, go look these laws up. It's crazy. Same thing now where they're thinking, well, if you leave California and you make all this money when you go to Texas, we're still gonna tax you for the next 10 years. Says who? This is how you know states look at you as a number and as property more than as a citizen who has a right to vote and tell you what they're gonna do. If criminals were smart, you will catch them. And it's so dumb. I know. It's the dumbest system, but they have it. Live PD, it was canceled. You know why? Because they came to Texas and one of our sheriffs right here in the backyard of Austin, Texas, was choking a man. And the man was like, I can't breathe. I'm having a heart attack. And guess what? He died. He died. You know what I'm saying? It's stupid. Stupid. The Uber informative bubby. I mean, I'm just letting you go. They were trafficking. Anybody with 2 cents or knows anybody knows they were trafficking. And the reason I didn't put the story out earlier is because people started coming in the comments. I'm from South Carolina. I'm from where they're from, and they got hurt and they got violated. I'm like, let me tell you something, dude. I don't need all that information. We don't need any of that information. Come on, man, get out of here. We can't stop by Mexico. They don't. They don't let. They don't. People here don't even hang out by border towns. If you own a semi truck, my company, when I had to get my insurance for my semi trucks, it clearly stated, are you going to be driving within 100 miles of the border? If so, check yes or no, right? And I'm like, okay, what's this about? And everybody was like, don't check yes. They'll charge you double the insurance because they know sometimes they kidnap trucks, sometimes they take trucks, sometimes trucks end up having mysterious accidents near the border. And so the insurance company's like, you going by the border? I'm like, no. And this is here in Texas. These people that get them houses on the border, insurance out of this world. Matamoros is not a place for tourists. It's not. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, if you want to do some real research, for some real math, I truly believe the cartels own a lot of these resorts. They own a lot of them because they seem to have no crime at them, but magically, you go around the corner, there's crime. It's almost like they told them people, let me tell you something. What you're not gonna do is come over here. Come on now. Dr. Miami, for sure. A car full of men. It didn't make any sense. She had no girlfriend, nobody to come with her. I remember watching two women. Dominican Republic would have been $300 and cheaper, right? So there was a woman who her and her friend went to Florida. They got BBLs. She looked over, her friend looked terrible. So she's like, wait a minute, something wrong. So they move her to another room. This is in Florida. They move her to another room. I think it's near Tampa. And she called a girl mama. She said, listen, they getting ready to release me, but I don't really feel good about leaving because old girl ain't woke up. And she should already be up by now. If it wasn't for her calling her mama, when the girl left and got to the hotel, they take her to the after treatment place, which this is a big money maker for Airbnbs. They took her to the after treatment place. She called back up there checking on her friend. Hey, I need to talk to my friend. They like, she can't talk right now. Did she call up there some more? Did she get herself back in an Uber and go back over there after surgery? Hurt, painful. Her friend was dead. They try to say, oh no, she went in a coma and this and this. Listen, when you looked over and your friend was not responding then, your friend was gone then. And this is in Florida. See, I don't know if y'all understand this, but the airline industry, anytime they're on a plane and they make a mistake, they have to record the mistake and it's public information and you can go request that information. Same thing when your bag gets stolen at the airport, and let's say you say, I was by Southwest ticket counter. This just happened. It's in the news. I was by Spirit Airline counter and my bag got taken. I would like to do a public information request. You can get that information because the airlines have a legal obligation to promote, to tell you what they did wrong. The medical industry does not. If your doctor does BBLs in Florida and he's had 5, 6, 7 black women die under his care, He is not legally even required to put that out anywhere. That's on you to do your due diligence, right? So y'all do the math on that. Okay? They thought you was in a gang, man. Look, did you have some tattoos? What was you doing? They said only American troops went into Mexico was chasing. Yep, 1969. They didn't do it no more. They didn't do it no more. The Carolina ports are hot right now. Hot, hot tamale. Let me see what else. Lumby, you already know what time it is. Everybody in South Carolina knew what time it was. I'm saying everybody knew. Who didn't know? Come on, man. I knew people who canceled their plans to Cancun because of the don't travel warning. Man, I go to Cabo where the money is. I don't go to Cancun. I ain't trying to get drunk. I ain't trying to go to Tulum, be all with the hippies. I go to Cabo where the money is. If you in Cabo, it's because you got some money. If you ain't got no money, they don't want you down there. Okay? Listen, BBLs don't even make sense. Okay? They won't even do gastric bypass surgery on some of these people because they're weight. They also won't do liposuction on several of these women because they passed the weight requirements. So if y'all believe this girl was gonna go down there and get a BBL, I got a bridge in China I want to sell you. But I just had to do this real quick. I just wanted to come out here and and go and tell y'all this because I was really tired of hearing black people saying they were kidnapping black people. I'm like, come on, y'all, stop. Stop. Let's stop. Like the news does what the news does, but like we don't have to fall for it, y'all. We don't have to play the oh my god. Like let's not do that. Okay? So listen. What can we learn from all this? What can we take away from this lesson? Um just do legitimate business. Just assess your cost of living. You don't have to do any of that. Any of that stuff to live in some of these very low cost states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, parts not everywhere, not Atlanta. Georgia is not Atlanta, right? I'm talking about Macon. I'm talking about everywhere else around there, right? And at the end of the day, oh South Beach, yeah, I was down there. They doing too much. At the end of the day, common sense says they're gonna go by the force of average, right? What is the force of average? The average cop is not on the high list. He's not a Rhodes scholar, right? So let's keep it simple. You're talking to somebody, talk to them within a level that they can understand. You know what I'm saying? Um, if you're out here in these streets, common sense say don't go over there, right? There's parts of Atlanta when I was out there, I called somebody, said, I'm over here. What you doing over there, girl? Get your ass from over there. I'm like, I didn't know. I didn't know. Right? Sometimes you just don't know certain areas. But when it comes to Mexico, if you ain't speaking Spanish, what you doing? And let's be really clear. I know too many Latino people here in Texas. They will tell you the first person to rip them off when they first come to America is other Latino people. Right? The first person to give them a bad apartment, a bad car, a bad rental situation is their own people. So when we have this ideal that black people do this, and no, this is they'll tell you themselves straight out their mouth like they own people do them dirty. So when we started, me and a couple of people started trying to do this new construction, Hispanic people love working there. Like you pay on time, you ain't giving me no drama. Great, this is great. All right, I'll take it. And I was like, man, they real loyal, real loyal. And it's because they know their own people be ripping them off, right? And so y'all have this kind of fantasy lane where all Latino people are beautiful and wonderful and they dance and salsa all the time and everything's peaceful. Nah, they got beef and their own issues. We went to a Mexican restaurant here in Austin and they got armed guards there. And I was like, well, dang, I ain't never been here. I didn't know. And she was like, well, we pay everybody paying cash. Look around. And I had to really sit down and look around. All the Hispanic men dressed really nice, alligator boots, nice button up black shirt. The wife is dressed up. I'm like, oh, this is actually a dressy location. and everybody's pulling out big cash. So they got an armed guards, two of them in the parking lot, one by the front door. Why? Because if you rob people in there, are those people gonna call the police? No, they not. They're not gonna call the police. So they already know. So who would have known? I didn't know about them people. I didn't even know about the restaurant. I just came over there because I'm like, man, that place stay packed. I want to see what's over there. Yeah, I'm one of them people. Let me see what's over there. I heard they got good food. And I went in there and was like, oh my God, look at this place. The boy in the parking lot scared. And the boy in the parking lot was a white guy. He was like, hey, you need help? I said, well, I'm just going to this Mexican restaurant right here. I heard it got good food. He was like, okay. Like he didn't even like what you doing over here. Like, he didn't give me no heads up, no warning. He just was like, oh, okay. Like he was giving me and my friend the weird eye, like, what y'all doing over here? This is his Hispanic spot. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, we go in there, have a great time, great food, fresh, all this stuff. And when we got ready to pay, he's like, the lady was like, do you need to pay in card? I was like, would you prefer card or cash? She looking at me like, cash. I'm like, here's some cash. Right? Because that just is what it is. And so even when I did a video and I've showed y'all here on YouTube, around the corner there's a flea market. I bet you millions of dollars go through that flea market. How do I know? There's 12 food trucks out front of the flea market. 12 food trucks. And some of them selling the same stuff, just different flags. We're Peruvian. We're Belizean. We're this. I'm like, the world? But that's how much money's running through that flea market, that them 12 food trucks are out there in that parking lot ready to get every bit of them dollars. And two doors down is the Africans with their own restaurant and grocery store. And I went in there before. They looking at me like, what you doing in here? I want to be like, I'm just wanting to buy some of this foo-foo. I guess this what is this called. So again, y'all, like people will give you the heads up if you're in the wrong areas. They will give you heads up for your own safety. It don't take much asking where you don't need to be. And when she said she was going to the doctor, where the doctor at? What's the name of the doctor? What's the name of the clinic? See, the news never told you what the name of the doctor was, what the name of the clinic was, what was going to be her recovery space. How did these three grown men have so much time off work that they could just get, you know, could just drive for 27 hours to Mexico and stay with her for recovery time and drive her back? Why weren't these men working in daylight time? You dig what I'm saying? Let's not be stupid. We know what's going on. This is trafficking. Okay. And if you know anything about North Carolina, you know anything about South Carolina, you know just a two bits about the history, you'll know that. But what I've learned, yeah, terrible cover story. What I've learned is the more I talk to people, most people know about. I'm being careful, about 2 years of information, right? Somebody will be like, I heard Texas is a great place to be. I'm gonna move here. Like people still talking to me about DeSoto, Texas. DeSoto, Texas was like 10 years ago when black people started moving there. But people to this day, Eric, I heard DeSoto, Texas is good. It takes a minute for information to get out. Do you know what I'm saying? So we'll come back, later. You know what I mean? We'll come back later and people gonna tell you, what happened. That's all. It's gonna take a minute. Then you're gonna come out later and be like, oh no, that was all BS. They've been in jail, whatever. See, America can't go put them in jail right away. It'd be too obvious. They got to play it out for a second. G Major said back in 2022, a pharmaceutical agent from Des Moines, Iowa, accosted me in DIA while I worked for Wackahut in a ground stop. Was ordered at $1,000 a minute for every plane. Okay, you gotta break that down some more. You gotta break that down some more. I can't. That made me almost have a stroke reading that. We know it wasn't the real deal. We already know. Bumper car people. Yeah, these are people who keep bumping into people like, I didn't know. Right? So what can we learn from this, right? I've complained enough. What can we learn from this? Simple, right? And I could even go even further and talk about the young man who went down to Venezuela, and then the young man that went to Colombia in the most gang infested neighborhood, the most heated, dangerous neighborhood, got his phone robbed and shot. And they're like, he's a great young man. Even if you visit places, this is the tourism side. You stay over here, right? There's a black guy here on YouTube that goes and travels, and he was in Colombia, and the black people were like, put that camera down. Put that camera down. You trying to get beat up? And they kept talking to him in English, like, hey, you need to get out of here with that camera. But see, y'all be out there trying to go have YouTube life. Don't do that. He lucky them people was nice. He was getting his hair cut and they were like, hey, don't put that camera up. Put that down. He's like, oh, you don't want me to film you? No, I'm trying to save your life. Don't put that camera up out here. Somebody gonna rob you. You know what I'm saying? It's like silly season. So at the end of the day, he has a decent channel, but he said he's been robbed a couple times. Silly stuff. Like come on, y'all. What can we learn out of this? Stick in the tourism area. You ain't about that life. You trying to chase some excitement. Like, whew, they don't have no common sense. Might be watcher. They don't have none. They going over there because somebody told them on YouTube to go over there. And again, YouTube's a blessing and a curse. It helps me decide some places I don't want to go. It helps me give me some knowledge before I get over there, feel like I've seen it. But don't go over there looking for looking for the trouble zone, because it will find you quickly. Okay. They got one America. He was down there having a party in his hotel room. Guess what? They found him 3 days later dead. Room full of liquor, alcohol, everybody, but nobody was there to report him being dead. Okay. Y'all got to be smart. This stuff don't be adding up. America can only do so much. It can't flex on the cartel. It cannot. Sorry. Cartels run that country. About good 20 of them. The rest is just fighting for position. At the end of the day, common sense says if you could do basic math for where you live and how much it costs to keep you living well in that state, figure that out. Now, if you say, "Well, I'm gonna leave and go out the country and pay, $200," okay, you're gonna be in Mexico paying $200 rent somewhere you ain't gonna want to live. I've been down there. You can watch plenty of videos; they'll show you. What can we learn from these dusties? I mean, tax liens are 95% redemption rate in South Carolina. Do y'all know what that means? That means 95% of people are not paying their tax bill, and taxes are the lowest in South Carolina. And they'll wait and pay their bill maybe March, April when tax refund come in. And that's why we have such high redemption rates for South Carolina. So you're gonna get your money. That's just is what it is. So look, you guys, it's late. I just had to touch on this because I said I was gonna do it, and it took me forever to do it. But I wanted some of that negativity to die down that was attached to it, where people want to come say really crazy stuff. Anyway, this is your girl Erica, Classy Climb Blog. Be safe out here. Be smart. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it most likely is a duck. Be smart. Later, you guys.